considering questions about Islamophobia, which I think is a very muddy kind of concept. My late friend Fred Halliday used to say the difference between anti-Semitism and anti-black racism and Islamophobia is that whereas the defenders and spokesmen of Jews and blacks denied the stereotypes and said, no, Jews are not avaricious, blacks are not lazy or whatever, many of the spokesmen for the Muslims say, yes, that is true, that's how we are. And I think this goes also with the point that David is making, that the idea, the way in which people try to equate something called Islamophobia with anti-Semitism and racism is misleading. I think obviously a core of the feelings against Muslims, as in BNP, for instance, is racist. It's just they transferred their racism from Pakis to Muslim. And of course they have a lot of ammunition from many of the Muslims. But then on the other hand, there is an important element of what is described and delegitimized as Islamophobia, which is what David was talking about. From the satanic verses episode was crucial in this respect. That here we have all these kinds of liberties and social arrangements which have been fought over and won over the decades, if not the centuries. And here are people who are trying to drag us back. And so I think a kind of critique of various strands of Islam and Islamism in terms of its implications for liberties and for social arrangements is a perfectly legitimate liberal democratic activity. And for it to be then classified as Islamophobia and linked together with racism is a travesty. That in fact is an attempt to muzzle genuine intellectual and political discourse and criticism. So that said, then if I have a little time, just in relation to Phil's contribution, I hope he was not implying that the nationalist states failed because they were secular, and that that secularism was purely a state matter. Secularism was not purely a state matter, that in fact if you look at the movements and struggles throughout the 19th century in the Ottoman world and in Iran, then you'll see it's that secularism, enlightenment, rationality was something that people were striving for within these countries, and that these included Islamic reformers. So in fact, one very interesting element is Freemasonry, which is now highly demonized, especially in the Muslim world and in the various other places. But in fact, it played a very important liberalizing role in the 19th century and into the 20th century. And in the lodges in Turkey and in Egypt, you find not only the modern intellectuals, but the Islamic reformers. So Jamal ad-Din al-Afghani, the kind of father of Islamic reformism, was the master of a lodge in Egypt. The Sheikh al-Islam at one time in Istanbul was part of a Masonic lodge, together with Greeks and Italians and Jews and what have you, who were all struggling for this kind of common universe that they were trying to build up. So it's not just a question of this, it's not just Nasser. Nasser was just a footnote in this respect. We are now talking about a whole generation and the whole society. If you look at all spheres of culture that have developed in Egypt and elsewhere, which is very important, and that is what is being reversed now. And I should also point out to you that the first victims of this reversal, when Islamists come to power, are the leftists, so beware.
Yeah.